Incremental ratings. That is the 11th section of the Pleasurable guide to SuperMemo, the Fluency cycle, and we introduce the templates and styling. It's just the first introduction, as brief as possible. We will see this later by the end of the cycle, within this cycle. And we will see this even later in the mastery as well. But why? Because I only want to cover the thing you need for the incremental rating flow. Everything else to make it pretty will come later. Because it takes quite a lot of time and we will drag the introduction of incremental rating. So that's why first, you will prioritize efficient learning over statics. That's the premise. The Cosmetic Trap. Why SuperMemo is ugly but effective. If it's making visuals and formatting is justified based on time. Why you have the urge to make a pretty flashcard, especially if you come from other software previously. And then finally we'll start with the hard skills. What is a template in SuperMemo? The template registry. What is a template and what is a template registry member? That is jargon but makes a difference in the scope of how you interpret the intangible part of the software. Key use cases, only the key ones, there are many more. When it's worth creating a template, use cases. What happens, because in SuperMemo you can have no template. So you can have an element that doesn't follow any template at all. So we'll see some use cases about this. Then some cases to avoid, because as a newbie, you could be modifying an element, but at the same time, you're modifying the template at the same time. So just high yield newbie mistakes are super easy to avoid. Then introducing some of the predefined templates, just the basics, just 4. There I think there are 17. We will only see 4 out of the 17. Then how to add those in case you delete them. What are the archetypal templates is something you will see that is weird in SuperMemo, that there's a template but has certain layout anyways, that's archetypal. Then why there's no Cloze Deletion template or no template for concepts, some of those early questions you may have. How you can view the source of an element without the template being applied. Here is a case that sometimes you want to operate with templates, but not on the registry in the object display field. If you remember the precise section, it triggers so many bugs. It's just for that. Then how to apply a template in SuperMemo. Finally, some of the features. Introducing then the styling, which goes in consonance of templates, but is something apart, independent of the templates. But usually, let's say you want to have a dark theme, you will also need to apply a dark style on the HTML components. Then how you can filter members, applying a certain template, what I just said, and the thing that only applies to HTML components. It's just fine-tuned to the understanding. We don't develop how to do the styling or anything else. Just the very essential stuff that you need in order to have the incremental rating flow. So let's start the section. So in this video, we are going to cover, more or less, why you shouldn't focus on cosmetics, aesthetics in SuperMemo. Yes, it looks ugly. The user interface usually is not pleasant. But on top of that, you shouldn't spend extra time making things pretty and so on. So in other words, prioritizing efficient learning over aesthetics. You may have known the proverb that don't judge a book by its cover. Hey, SuperMemo looks like crap. Well, could be the case, yeah, it looks like crap, but it's not. It's extremely efficient. Then, let's just start with the allure of the pretty flashcard. Because I will focus as a user of SuperMemo. So I'm not trying to sell SuperMemo to you. You already use SuperMemo and you are following this course. So what you want to do as a user is to make a flashcard pretty, right? Oh yeah, look in Anki how pretty it is and how limited they have the options of using colors, fonts, and all of this, right? So the process of making the flashcards look pretty can feel productive, satisfying, but will give you a false sense of accomplishment because you accomplished nothing other than just aesthetics. So this is often a form of procrastination disguised as organizing or improving your learning material. Some sort of or one layer of what they call Zander paradox. Feel free to check the video. So we have an analogy. So making flashcards pretty in SuperMemo is the same as spending countless hours in the gym, but color coordinating the dumbbells, instead of actually working out. Do you spend a lot of time in the gym? Yes. Do you spend time working out on the gym? No. Do you spend time actually learning SuperMemo? No. You spend most of the time making things pretty. So the goal is to get stronger in the gym, will be the same as to learn, to acquire new knowledge, not to have the prettiest gym. So let's follow with the Cosmetic Trap. Why it hurts your learning. Spending time making things pretty will hurt your learning. Massive time sink. Every minute you spend on formatting is a minute you do not spend in actually learning. Increase cognitive load. Since you focus on the design choices, oh, this is bold, this is underlined, this is pink, this is yellow, and so on, distracts your brain from the actual knowledge you're trying to encode. You spend cognitive load on how pretty to put it, not in the actual learning that those words convey. And this violates some core principles. Over-formatted flashcards, items, often obscure the key information, violating the minimum information principle. You have so much highlighting, so much emphasis in so many aspects. If that's the case, that means you have too much information. It's not atomic enough. And remember that the purpose of SuperMemo is to learn. It's a learning app. It's not to become a digital scrapbooker. What actually matters in SuperMemo? We know it's not the cosmetics. What it is? Effectiveness, cognitive principles, not the aesthetics, active recall, spaced repetition, and formation of knowledge, the 20 roles, and so on. So it's atomic, clearest, unambiguous, and so on. None of those pillars have anything to do with how pretty the cards look. And that's actually why in my course I actually introduced the templates as late as possible. Because hey, focus on something else before the templates. First focus how to use SuperMemo, how incremental reading works, and then if you want, make it pretty. Then we have the ugly but effective approach. It looks terrible, but it's damn effective. One of the things is to embrace plain text. It's optional, by the way. There's no need to use plain text in SuperMemo. I do. For some years already, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, I think close to 4 years. And for me, it's a no return. There are videos dedicated to that. Then, use formatting for function, not for fashion. That is the golden nugget. I use the bolding here because are the main points of this list. That's it. Embrace the plain text, use formatting, the golden nugget, focus on phrasing and analogy. That's the bolding. But this is a topic, it's not an item, a flashcard. So you should use bolding or italics on a highlight word, and that's about it. And you may use colors sparingly, so only when it's required for some stuff to make it easier, but it should be redundant at some degree. And you should focus on the phrasing. The most important cosmetic is the clarity and precision of your words. How you communicate the flashcard, how you communicate the question and the answer. A well-phrased question is worth more than any font or color scheme. You can make it as pretty and eye candy as you want. Not if how it's phrased is crap. That flashcard is a pretty crap, and that's it. So we have one easy analogy. Think of your knowledge collection as a powerful raw engine. Its beauty is in the performance and function, not in the chrome finish. It's not, oh, it looks so attractive just looking at it. No, it looks terrible, but it looks how it functions. So you know, this has this many cylinders, this is extremely powerful, it's well structured, communicated, and so on. And this is itself the beauty. Awesome. Then, when are visuals and formatting justified in SuperMemo? Sometimes there are some exceptions. Could be the case of anatomy or geography. You need to spend time on making labels. Let's say you do image occlusion, and it's not just a one square. You say, let me do the squares minimum width, I don't know, because then the size could be a hint of the label. That, oh, it's just by the size, I know it's one single word. Oh, so that's it by the size, I know it's two words. It's giving me a hint already. Or if you color code, that red means what I'm targeting. Perhaps there are other occlusions, stuff like that. Then, not in the case of SuperMemo, but LaTeX. So sometimes, if you use SuperMemo, you're going to use HTML instead, but at least in HTML you could have the square properly squared and so on, instead of plain text, at least it's like this. Usually, if it's one-off, or it's anecdotal, no big deal. But if it's recurrent, that you do this every day, perhaps you want to spend time, okay, let me do properly the squared and so on. And then conceptual diagrams. Like I have done during this course, you may have seen. By the way, I use FigJam for that. And I have some diagrams that are more visual. And then you can attach those visuals to the flashcard as an image component. So still, the key is utility. I don't make this diagram to look better. I don't making this square of red to look better. It's so I know what I'm being asked. Or it's in this size, not because it looks better. It's because it's consistent, therefore I don't give away the length of the label, of the text, and so on. So the visual element must be the most efficient way to represent the core piece of knowledge. Substance over style. Resist the urge to perfect the look of your items. You're wasting your time. Your running time is too precious. You are not making Instagram reels. The only person who will see your items is yourself. So, then a boring collection with 20,000 well-formulated plain text items is infinitely more valuable than a beautiful collection of just 500. There are, let's say, a lot more eye candy, a lot more attractive, but it's just a tenth of the size. So focus your energy in what really drives memory. Formulating knowledge correctly and trust the algorithm. As long as you formulate well, or well enough, with it iteratively, and you trust the algorithm, that, okay, I'm setting this priority, I will see this next time, next day, next year, whatever, but I know I will guarantee my desired retention rate. And there's one quote from Antoine saying, this guy, I'm not going to butcher his name. It's a super good quote. Perfection is achieved not when there's nothing more to add, but when there is nothing left to take away. Beautiful. So this quote in plain text is more beautiful than, let's say, this. I did that on purpose, by the way, with the help of AI. In this case, I didn't spend much time because I just, the time to prompt the AI and to wait 20 seconds for the image. But this has the same effect. Once you have this ability, that for you, this piece of text and this image has the same value, you have overcome the allure of too pretty flashcard. You don't focus on cosmetics. You focus on efficient learning. And if you're not there, with SuperMemo is a very good choice. It's a very good way to get there. So if you're not there, you will. Or you will give up SuperMemo. Two options. So that's why we will cover templates, just the very basics. Then at the very last, only the basic functionalities, operations, and most of the other stuff will be only on the mastery. Don't spend that much time with templates. So let's start with the basics about templates in SuperMemo. What is actually a template? In SuperMemo, it's actually different. For instance, this very same element that you're seeing now is not template. So we already know that whatever it is, it's optional. And we already know from previous videos that the template registry is also optional, is non-essential. You could delete all of the templates and still use SuperMemo. So we already know templates is for convenience. Let's see. That is the official definition of a template. Let's see that. Then I will show you mine. A template is a reusable definition of an element's appearance, how it looks. You may define, because it's not have to define, the type and properties of individual components. In this case, I have one component. In my root, I have 4 components. So where exactly they are positioned, and some of the properties, when you right click, you may have some properties like display, add, and all of this, right? So all of this is stored in the template. Can be the size, the color, the font with some, not always. The HTML component works slightly different. Image, alignment, and all of that. And then it says that all templates are used in a given collection are kept in the registry. Okay. And you locate them by the main menu, search, and templates. Awesome. Then, another definition. In SuperMemo, a template is a blueprint or a predefined layout for your elements. Remember, we have seen layouts at the beginning of the course? The layout is for SuperMemo windows. And what do you store? The height, width, the position on the screen, if it's in the second screen, if you use SuperMemo 19, and so on. Here is the same. But instead of the windows is for your elements. So within your element, this component is here in these coordinates, has these properties, and so on. As a consequence, the template defines the structure and appearance, how it looks, and behavior, because you can have something that is interactive with clicks or auto executes and so on. That's why you can actually modify the behavior via template. It's more obscure. We want only to see this in the mastery track. And for questions and answers, but not limited to this. Usually in items, you will have more templates because items are forever, unless you delete them. And topics or tasks are temporary. But you can also have templates for those. Awesome. So this has been the introduction of a template in SuperMemo. So now let's fully introduce the template registry. In the main menu, search and templates. So we quickly have seen this already as an example to showcase something else. Okay. So here you will see all of the templates you have in your collection, because each registry depends on each collection. And if it's brand new, you will already have some templates. Even though they may be unused, like this one, you have some of them. For instance, which we will see in dedicated videos, in the mastery track, all of them, and in the Fluency, just 5, about 5 of them. So you can tell that I did this one myself. Then you have article. This article is for topics. Then you have items. Item is for items, right? But why is not called topic? and topic video and topic picture. I don't know. And just to let you know that we will see later on, this is reserved. The name article or item will be reserved. So it's meaningful to keep the name article. Okay. Then you have pronunciation, sound item, that's already telling. Sound without nothing, what is this? So the rich text, those are old, you're not going to use them anymore, specifies article and item. But sometimes the article is at the beginning. Why here is later? You will have predefined templates, which you can customize how they look, by the way, and you can add more. And if you don't like them, like let's say the rich text, I'm not going to see that, I'm not going to ever use that, so I can just delete them if I want. And then when you want to apply a template, what you will see is this, the registry. So if now I have this, my root element, and I want to apply the template, we will see how this works later. Do you see? It's the registry, once again. And I have a preview. Remember the object of the registry member. But sometimes it doesn't help, right? Because there's no text, there's no images, and so on. Not necessarily, because in SuperMemo, you can also save templates with objects embedded. So you will see this object in the preview. This will only see in the mastery track. Then you only have one template for tasks. And if you have observed, there is no template for concepts. And then since it's a registry, you have the menus, the tools. Some options are not there because are impossible to do, but it's good enough. That's enough for an introduction of the template registry. One of the registries you will use the most without going manually there. So instead of going to search and templates, you're going to just apply a template through, you're going to get the registry while triggering a function, an operation. You're going to only come here when you want to do some maintenance. You want to delete, you want to check the users, or you want to create a brand new, and that's it. Because if you want to create new templates, you're going to do this on the element window, not here. So let's introduce a little more jargon. So we know already the template registry. And what are those? Add templates. But yeah, specifically in this context, those are not templates. Those are template registry members. So the article here, it's a template, yes? But this template may be applied in some other elements. This is in the registry and it's being active, meaning that when you want to apply for a new topic, you want to apply the article template, SuperMemo will link this member. It's in a file, the info compound.dat, and whatever there is, it's this background color and this component, boom, and it will apply that. But this will be applied to the new element, or the element you're working with. The article registry member is its own entity, exists by itself. That's why you can have, like the occlusion, 0 members, meaning that you have a template registry member, but no element is using this as a template in your collection. So therefore, when you want to apply the template, and you have the template registry, as we have seen, you're not choosing a template. Strictly speaking, you're choosing a template registry member, specifically. And once you add that, and you have a template, that's a bad example. Let me go here. Now apply the template picture. Now, this topic, it's linking to a member in the registry, in the template registry. So the article picture, in reality, what it does, SuperMemo, is just linking the position 9 in the template registry. And the effects take time at the precise moment you add it. So whatever looks like this, it will be like this. If now I modify it to different color, it will have different color. So remember this, it's like a blueprint that tells what it will be there, but it's never the registry member. It just propagates the values, if this makes sense. Here's an analogy that you can have those shapes that the cookie will adapt to this shape, it will be the template, but then what you provide is the cookie without the metal thing, right? So you provide me a heart-shaped cookie or a star-shaped cookie, but the cookie is the element. The actual metal thing doesn't leave the registry. Hope this makes sense. That's why I can actually see the source, and this is how it looks. And do you see the difference? Because it's one has this being applied, creating the shape, and the other is how it looks without the shape. It will look like a real cookie. That is more or less a circle, but not a perfect circle. I hope the analogy is good enough. And if you still don't understand, no worries, because at the end of the day, it's just terminology. Just to let you know that you apply a template, you have the template, and you can detach the template and it will look exactly the same, even if there's a template, because you can have a cookie with this shape, it's cooked and so on, and once it cools down, you just have the cookie like this on the plate. Means you no longer have the template. This is still with the cookie. This is still with the template at this moment. And once you release it, it lives on its own in the shape. For instance, a star-shaped cookie without the template. You can detach it, but it still has the same shape. But it will not have acquired a star shape without this template being applied beforehand. Same for this. It will not look like this. It will not look like this if before it wasn't like that, right? Same thing. That's enough for now. Keep in mind, the more you dig into templates, especially in the mastery track, the least they follow the common sense. The implementation gets really weird. But not worries, as a Fluent user, you're not going to see any of that. Now that we have introduced what is a template, we can get to the key purposes of templates. So, for instance, in this very same element, I don't have a template. And there's a reason for that I'm not applying a template. I'm not going to spoil it yet. We will see later on in this section of the course. But let's see the key purposes. So why templates exist and they are useful and convenient, yet non-essential. First is consistency. You ensure that all items or certain type, could be topics or even tasks, look the same. So the answer is precisely in the same place, the same font, the same color. You have this consistency. Imagine, you know that now I'm using my course layout. Imagine that at every repetition, the layout is switching. And now I use the contents, now the random, now the entire screen, now the small. It will look weird, right? That, hey, yeah, I have the components, the text components, but in a slightly different place, and so on. If you want to always look the same, you create a template, and you can guarantee this. Second, efficiency. You don't do it manually. It's, let me resize this. It's slightly off. Here you go, some pixels. Or no, the background was supposed to be another shade of gray. I'm not doing this manually. What I will do instead is applying a template that, hey, this is the article. Here you go. Right? Hey, it looks slightly different. But all of the topics using this template, they have the component in this precise size, in this precise coordinate. It did more stuff. Now I have image components that I added via template. We will see the use cases of that. Awesome. So this saves a massive amount of time. because instead of doing this every single time, you just apply the template. And the template can be very complex. So the more complex, the more steps you save. Third, power and flexibility. You create different templates for different purposes. You can have vocabulary if you do language learning, or for anatomy, you can have one that is image occlusion, something more specific. Something more specific. So you have super flexible that, I want this flashcard to be like this. I already applied the template for that. And as we will see, you can use concepts that will auto-apply that template. So you don't even need to do it yourself. It's just that from now on, the items under this concept in anatomy, let's say, will have the image occlusion template. So I don't even have to worry about that. So it's not just flexibility, it's power, which will lead to efficiency and consistency at the end of the day, because all of the anatomy flashcards will have the same template. And finally, fourth, separation of content and presentation. What does that mean? That, hey, I have accumulated 5,000 items in vocabulary, in English. Now I want to make a distinction for my incremental reading. Let's say, I can just change the color. Because now, if I change the color now to this purple, now I have the template. It was active. That means that all of the, in this case, topics that use the article template, now they will have this color. So we will see that, hey, perhaps some cases you don't want that. You want to modify only this element. There's something you can do before actually modifying the looks. Why this is useful? Because you don't need to retroactively modify what you did before. Now I have to modify all of the items I have for language to include one image component. Nope. I just modify it via template, and here you go. They will be empty, but they will be there. Or how it looks. It will be resized, or the font size, the font color, whatever you want. So this has been an overview of the key purposes of templates. The motivation, why you should create a template. Why the template is actually doing, albeit non-essential. So we have seen already the templates, what doesn't need a template, what don't need a template, what about the opposite. So we will see a checklist of what now deserves a template. So let's dig into that. And then what will be more or less the checklist? That, hey, this deserves from now on a new template that I will call a panoramic item picture, let's say, because it's what I wanted, right? Sorry, topic. It is actually a topic, not an item. So I could say, hey, I'm not going. We will see this later on in the section. But hey, let me save this as template, and I will call it. So it's, hey, let me save this as template, and let me call it instead article panoramic picture. But before I do this action, I have to do some kind of a checklist. This is qualitative, by the way. You can do whatever you want. Those are some guidelines. First, volume. Can I realistically create at least 30 or 50 items or element types, by the way? Could be topics. But again, it's more likely that you focus on items. So if you don't want to repeat this structure for 30 times, it's very likely you will need a template. And remember, the more templates you do, the higher the maintenance and the more cognitive flow to decide which template you want to apply. So it comes with a cost. Then efficiency. Does this template save me significant time and effort compared to simply using default Q&A or simple topic? If I come here, now let me apply the other template, is in my case, no, because I can still read it. It's just my preference that I want to be big at the bottom and so on. So as long as I don't have images in chemistry, in this case chemistry, that are complex enough, perhaps I will reach a point that I do really need more pixels, more width. Then later on, I will create the flashcard. I will create the template, but not for now. It will be an overkill, and I will have a template of just a few flashcards. Then a third will be clarity, because sometimes the flashcard, it's not a slight stretch. We could say that the template allows you to have a lot of text. Therefore, it's more friendly to do very bad flashcards, that they don't follow the 20 rules of formulation and stuff like that. You cram a lot of information. Not cramming of the opposite of space repetition. No, cramming of putting a lot of content together. Like you may have seen in some Anki users that they ask a question and the answer is one entire page of a textbook. The template may allow you to do this. That's why clarity is, I have the text. You see how many lines I can fit here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I don't know, 15, let's say at maximum. And that's about it. So the entire thing is already 15. And if I go to this, it's even less. Less text is fitting without scrolling, right? And the last one is necessity. Because sometimes it's not about how it looks, it's how it behaves. Perhaps what I want is multiple choice questions, and I can choose. Or I want image occlusion. Or I want sound to be played at the question time, or I want to be the sound only on the answer time, or stuff like this. Then it's generally different and necessary. But could be the case that you overdo it, and it's just for the sake of organization. That no, those are I don't know, I'm making this up. Let's go to the registry. So here I have a spelling, right? So no, I have the English spelling. That the only thing I will change is the background color with a flag or whatever. And then I will have an English sound IPA, Spanish sound. So I'm overly specifying this. And then what happens is that the behavior is the same. The components are more or less the same. What actually is different is the background, or probably the cosmetics, that is themed with the Spanish flag or with the American flag or whatever. You are overdoing this already. Unless you do it for other purposes, that we're not going to see this here, then you can repurpose more or less the template registry, like I do, not in this backup. I do that, I have a template for AI. So that means that the item, it was generated by AI. The formulation was AI generated. For me, this is acting like a tag, because I want to know that this was AI generated. That's it. Everything else is the same. So these are more or less the checklist you need to follow when it's time. It's justified that you need a new template in your collection. And this is more or less all you need to know about the template checklist. That, okay, from now on, I have a requirement, a need that justifies a brand new template. Remember that every template will add complexity and cognitive load when you want to decide. You have a new element, which template I want to select. If I have 10, it's not the same as if I have 50. So now we are going to focus on in which situations you don't actually need a template. Like I have now, like I had before in a previous video, that was no template at all. Let's see on the why you don't need a template. For highly unique information. that, hey, this is very unlikely that I'm going to repeat this, right? So imagine that I have, let's say, I may have a very panoramic picture here. Okay, then this will make sense. So imagine now it will be dummy what I do. Okay. It's dummy because the content is not about this. But in this case, it's very convenient because the image is very wide, very panoramic. That, okay, I do it like this, it's not template, but it's unique for me, right? The question will be, no. From now on, I detected that there's a pattern. And time to time, I have images that are very wide. And if I do my usual pattern, if now I apply my template, is okay, it's enough. It is borderline, right? But no, I prefer to be super wide, or because my screen resolution is very low, or whatever. Then, hey, you know what? I want to see it like this instead. Then you will create a template. But if it's unique, because it's an image, or like a good example, it's this, that I don't need a template for this, because I'm not going to use 3 HTML components anymore in any other place. So I don't need to. That's why it's no template. Awesome. And the other is when it's quickly passing in unstructured notes. You will see later on that perhaps you create flashcards, items, not from your imports. It's a conversation with someone else, or in social media, or something in your mind. You want to quickly jot this down and create a flashcard or the extract or whatever, and set a priority and move on. Then you don't care, because it's temporary. Temporary in the sense that I just create a new element. And this is an some idea I just got, and I create the flashcard right away. It's dummy, obviously, what I'm doing, but you get the point, right? Then I will apply done right away, which deletes the template. Then is, why should I care to set templates if it's so extremely short-lived, right? I will only care about the item I did, not the topic. Okay. I know I'm advancing some stuff that we didn't do the closing and so on, but it's just high level to transmit, to communicate the point. And could be the case that these 2 process later, so it's something quick, it would be some weeks or months in your collection, but you will do the same action. Once this pops in your repetitions, you will do the flashcard or whatever and apply done. So why bother? So remember, if it's too unique, it's not going to be repeated. You don't need a template, or if it's very short-lived, that as long as you have set a concept, let's say, the item you did will inherit the template anyways. As it's going to apply done right away, no difference. I'm going to focus on templates, but more precisely on the fact that SuperMemo allows the user to have no templates. For instance, this very same topic has no template. Awesome. And now, I did that on purpose to go meta, so I can do extracts that we will see later on. But just to make my point, that now the elements I just created, they are also no template, as you can see. We still have the question, why it looks like this if there's no template? What justifies these looks and not something else? We're going to cover this later, because we need to introduce more stuff before, so we can understand it. But before, let's go with the why. By the way, what I just did, if I had used topics and some other features, I could get the templates right away. But usually the newbies don't do this, and I did this on purpose to create this scenario, so you can relate to this. Okay. So why SuperMemo extends elements exist without a template? It's rooted to the core philosophy to provide maximum flexibility and user control. You are boss. In SuperMemo, the user is a semi-god. You have like an omni power to overrule, create and delete anything you want in the collection. Too much power sometimes. Then, to simplify, if you want to provide maximum flexibility, nothing is required. Everything is optional. It's good to have, but it's not required. As a template, it's very convenient because it will create efficiency, consistency, and so on, but is optional. I can overrule that. I can be lazy, do whatever I want, and I still have topics, items without any template at all. And I still will have all of my incremental reading flow. You compare with the Anki, let's say, what happens with only the flashcards, because Anki is only a flashcard app, is that you need to specify a template or at least a note type that will have a card type, which will have a front and back templates. You cannot have a flashcard without a note type. It has to be the basic, the close deletion, image occlusion, optional, the spelling, and all of this, right? Okay. I'm not going to explain because it's just Anki. In the mastery track, we will see later on the very specific details, but not now. So then, to handle unique and atypical knowledge, it doesn't fit any pattern. So if you remember, one of the reasons to create a template is when you see a pattern that repeats and you can save time, right? But in incremental reading, you will see that this is one of a kind. I'm not going to have any other item or even topic with this because of the arrangement of images, the ratios, or whatever. That, hey, it is this layout, and it's very likely that in 12,000 items, there will be a need to have an item using the same template. That's why by default, it's no template. You need to use our features to auto-apply it. Awesome. Could be the case that you need custom placed labels. They will fall on the image occlusion. But yeah, something that is very unique. Then, second reason. SuperMemo lets you have no template elements to support a creative design flow. Good templates are often born from experimentation. It's not that, hey, I will apply this right away. It's, hey, let me try the image below here with a different ratio. Hey, let me try with other obscure components that I may use, right? Where do I want the sound? Because the sound will have the menu as well. Stuff like this. So forcing users to define a template right away will stifle creativity. First I have the flow, then I realize, hey, the flow is kind of off. And then it's, let me place this here. Oh, let me change this, the rearrangement, right? So perhaps let's say the question and answer, instead of top and bottom of the screen, perhaps I want right and left. Or let's say that I'm learning a language that is right to left, or some other language that doesn't use the sim. Hey, perhaps I want the question to be on the right side and the answer to be on the left side. You can do that. And then it's, hey, it's good enough. Or you can create this iteratively based on your usage and experimentation. This kind of works. But now, how do I arrange this with images if I'm using these sideways already, right? And stuff like this. So you have the opportunity to have the no templates. You're customizing this one off, until, I don't know, to say something. The 20th item you were experimenting with, you get the point, that's exactly what I need. And then that item will apply the template. It's, hey, save the looks of this item as in a template. And then I can apply that in bulk of the other items. I was still working on that. And from now on, every element that is from that language that I'm learning will have this template and so on. So more or less, then, Third is to ensure robust importing compatibility, because sometimes you import from XML or something like that, and you get some weird stuff like that. I mean, strictly speaking, I think by XML you're limited to just two image components and some components, I think, from question and answer time, and you're limited to just one question and an answer on the import. Not the web import. We're not going to see this, by the way, in the Fluency track. But it's just to make a point that sometimes you even do the import files and folders that it will be only available on the mastery track as well. Just to let you know that hey, you have more than one HTML component, it's unexpected, and the one that contains the content is the second one, not the first, right? So sometimes you have some weird stuff, or if you do other advanced stuff, like this member or stuff like this, you could have weird combinations. That's why for whatever you do or whatever you import, you have something that's guaranteed to work. It might look weird, but it will be there. The content is there. In any scenario that you can have multiple elements on the question side, or extra that are not even question or answer are after grading, stuff like this. So the no template acts like a safe default. Then you can rearrange whatever you need, and then you save it as a new template. And the fourth and last option that SuperMemo allows the user to have elements with no templates is the escape hatch for ultimate control. Basically, it's that, okay, it's convenient that they have the automation, but some use cases, hey, there are some exceptions that I want to overrule this automation. Therefore, if there's a template, I can detach that template like if it was not there and have it unique, have it no template as a feature. That, hey, that has been added, this element was created and was auto-applied template, but it's unique. Therefore, I don't want to use the template anymore, and I don't want to modify the template for every single other user, right? So you want the consistency, that every element will use the same template without modifying the others. For instance, I want this to be, I don't know, red, but only this very same one, so therefore the others are unaffected. That's why I want no template. Even though here is a very limited approach because I'm just modifying the color. It's just cosmetic. But could be the case, like I do, that I have templates that they differ on the what's called template flags. Therefore, their behavior is different. I can get rid of extra images, meaning that when I apply the template, the images, if there are images, are completely gone as a consequence. Which we will see this later on. That's why it's not just about cosmetics. It's about functionality, and since you have a lot of power in templates, what you can do is, unwillingly, you can delete stuff from your collection with no undo, by the way. Too much power sometimes you have. So that has been all. So we are working with templates. We still didn't have enough experience how to customize it yet. Wait for that. But before is let's see one of the most common mistakes beginners, newbie users do while managing the templates in SuperMemo. Because knowing this in advance can save you a lot of time and a lot of frustration. Just to let you know, I had my 40 first hours of using SuperMemo raw, on record. You can watch that in YouTube if you want. They're unlisted. And I lost patience only once. And it was while I was messing, trying to understand templates. So I only lost patience there. This tells you a lot. It's very rare that I rage. Extremely rare. Happens once after a few years. Let's say 2 times or 3 times a decade. And one was with this. It's that rare. So then, What are the most common mistakes that you can not avoid at all extent, but go a lot quicker thanks to this Pleasurable guide? One is using no templates at all. Remember that SuperMemo templates are not essential, but are very, very time-saving. Even if you don't care about templates, something we will see later, it's some suggestion from me, is nothing official, is have a template, what I called a template convention. So actually, you never need to apply templates. You have one for items, one for topics, and that's it. You never need to switch, oh, I want an image, and then all of this. This simplifies the experience, is a lot less friction, time invest trying features that, hey, let me apply this one, this other one. No, that doesn't happen. But for that, strictly speaking, you still need to use templates. Even though you never create or apply yourself, it will be, as we will see, through concepts and all of that, that will auto-apply the templates for you. But not doing this, that everything is no template like this, or same element, it will become messy, inconsistent. You will need to spend time here and there. It's very hard to update or to maintain. So the solution is just what they say, follow the convention. Another mistake people do, newbies, is modifying the template instead of the element. Because let's say that, hey, I want to change this element in particular. Okay, no worries, because it's the template, right? But sometimes a template is already applied. So now I change the color, the background color, let's say, and I modify the background color of all of the topics using the topic template. Oopsie doopsie. In this case, it's not a big deal, because if it's just the, let's say it's this, oh, I messed up, right? Okay, no worries, you cannot undo that, but you go back to the same color you had before. But if you add components, and more especially, that we won't see in the Fluency, if you mess around with templates, or perhaps you use a template with flags that you're not even aware they are being turned on, you can delete thousands of images unknowingly. It's quite drastic. So if you import a deck, if you, I don't know, play with this and you forgot, or you copied an element from someone else by copy pasting or by importing the collection or whatever, have this in mind. You can screw your collection big time. And modifying a template instead of just an element. So imagine that, oopsie doopsie, I did that on purpose. I didn't do that on purpose. It's the color. Okay, no big deal. But can be a big deal, and there's no undo. So, third, creating too many similar templates. This is slightly subjective, right? You may have seen in some of the videos from Wozniak, even though they're not comprehensive, that I cannot say the entire collection, the entire template registry, just by context. When he applies templates in his videos, I can really tell he fine-tunes a lot. That is, the image component is slightly bigger, more panoramic, half of the screen, and then the same for an item, and then for the same item but in the same color or different color, so the background color it's pink or it's yellow, Yeah, because what happens in SuperMemo is that once you have the image component, it's that size, unlike Anki or many apps, but let's simplify to Anki, that you have an image that is larger. You can play with CSS. You can apply and enforce a limit in width or just increase the width. It's a lot easier. So he wants to have more precision, that, hey, I want a bigger picture as possible, right? I don't. And now you can afford this because now the screen resolutions are much higher, and in SuperMemo 19 you even have multiple screen layouts. So now I have enough space that even if I have a label, I have labels, it's a diagram or whatever, it's large enough that they can see it. So it doesn't justify to create another template which is the same rearrangement, the same colors, the same component order. So it's just the width is slightly bigger. But just to let you know that you can do that. And hey, history dates, birth dates, or events, or chemistry, So imagine having 4 different item templates for every concept. You will have 200 and something templates. And then it's, hey, let me get all of my chemistry with formulas. Yeah, wait, it's this one, so you need to select quite a few, or even do a search, as long as you're consistent with the naming. So you have a match, and then select all of those, so do a what's called registry subset. You add a lot more layers. It's harder to maintain. For what benefit? Because the image is slightly bigger. For me, that doesn't justify that. So the solution for that is to make templates as reusable as possible. I am quite on the most extreme on the part of the spectrum, but you can have some middle ground. The next mistake usually is forgetting the set answer property in a component. Then you do the flashcard and boom, you get spoiled because in the question the answer is already the question is already giving you away the answer. So you just, at least when this happens, let me go if I can see some. Let's pretend it's this one. If this happens, okay, I have been spoiled. Then I click answer here for my convenience, or remember, display add and question unchecked. Has the same effect. And then it depends on you. It's oopsie doopsie, let me reschedule that pretending I don't grade this because I have been spoiled. Or you select 3. But I haven't had the opportunity to recall that. So you have the habit that when you create a flashcard that you know the answer is giving you away, you create a flashcard, an item, with an image that it's too revealing. As soon as you create the close deletion, you navigate there and put it on the answer. Without thinking, it becomes second nature. And the last one, it's kind of more long-term, is to have vague or default template names. Like template 1, copy of template 1, or vocab German, or like this, right? That what is this, right? You could have something more telling, like, no, this is for vocabulary. Perhaps I have more than one. If I want to use some link, some styles, so I have some Asian fonts for Japanese, Chinese, or whatever. And for German, I use a different font, could be the case, or whatever. But then, as soon as you're consistent, it's okay. Because then what is this? Vocab German? I'm assuming that's an item. How do I know it's a topic template? So, another thing we will see that we already hinted is in the template convention. We also have the template naming convention. So when I see the list, I know that's for an item and sound is for a topic. It's not the best because it's by elision. So if it's not present, I know it's not an item. Okay. So then, what happens is that SuperMemo, for whatever reason, uses article instead of topic. It's inconsistent. Uses item for items, tasks for task for task, but article for topic. I don't know why. And this is absolutely required because, as we will see, if you have an article template and you add a picture, SuperMemo will check the same name with picture in the name. So if it's article, it will look for article picture template. If I have here, I don't know, topic, SuperMemo will look for topic space picture, and so on. That's why I don't actually do that. You will see that those are actually almost unused. In my collection, I don't use that because my article already includes an image. My screen can fit that, so why bother to apply here and there, right? That's one thing. And then classic. Okay, now that I clicked, I know it's meant for an item. And link, what is this? Is this for a topic? You know what? That is what I mean. So if you create your own templates, be descriptive, so you know the type, the element type it's meant for. If you use it for link it for a concept, the concept like chemistry or whatever, or the purpose. For instance, article video is because I have the video, but I want some text on the side. Or panoramic picture, what is this? It's the same, but the image below here is panoramic. So it's about the ratio, aspect ratio. So whatever you prefer, but be descriptive. If I just say template 1, template A, or my template, it doesn't tell me much. So this has been a recollection of the most common mistakes that beginners do about templates, and it's very, very easy to prevent or to tackle since day one, because they don't require any hard skill. You don't need to actually understand fully how templates work in SuperMemo to apply all of this. The naming convention, all of this, You may notice now that, hey, this looks different, right? Yep, and it's on purpose. It's because now I'm using the default styling. Why? Because I'm going to present the default built-in templates. Or in a different way, the predefined templates. So I want them to look more or less exactly the same you will see in the vanilla experience. So in this case, it's already customized. This is not a template. Okay. So we're going to see first the template registry. How do I know if the template is mine? I created that, or SuperMemo comes with it. There's one easy way. Just neglect your collection, start a new one, start a new collection, and now go to your registry. Do you see you have 17 already? All of those are the predefined templates, super easy. But what happens that the preview sometimes is, okay, it's not enough, right? They are empty. Okay. That's why we're going to see a few of them in the Fluency track or in Zone and explain why they are created like this, when you should use it, and so on. And the rest only on the Mastery track, because for Fluency and Incremental reading usually are not required. Awesome. So basically, you're going to see awesome. And by the way, even if you delete any of those, like, hey, I'm not going to do YouTube, let me close it. Oh man, I'm following this course, and now I want to do video. I discovered it useful. Oh, I have deleted that. What you can do, right click, tools, add predefined templates. And now I have the YouTube back again. Keep in mind, you can modify them so they will look different. So instead of white can be black or whatever. And it won't be restored. Because only what was deleted will be restored, not what has been modified. Awesome. So that has been all for the preview of the predefined templates in SuperMemo. So we're going to see the predefined article template. Okay. Then if I create manually one topic, it's one case, and I start typing, right? Pa bam, pa bam. In my opinion, it looks terrible, but that's the default font, size, color, and all of this. Okay. Then it is more illustrative if I import something. Okay, so what I'm going to do is import one article. We will get there, no worries. I'm not going to explain what I'm doing here. And this already has the article template. And this is how it looks by default. And I will start reading. Ba-ba-bam. So basically the article template is when you focus on reading. You only have one single component. That is an HTML component. And that's about it. The easiest template ever you can have. And you have some margin. The background is white. But it's enough that you can see the scroll bar. Awesome. As easy as that. So that is the article, the predefined article template in SuperMemo. We have seen the article predefined template. Now we're going to see a similar one, the article picture. First, I can apply it right away myself and select it. Do you see now the text, the HTML component is smaller because there's an image? But instead, what I'm going to do, so you can see this on action, I'm going to insert one. Okay. Do you see what happened? It's not template. If I was using concepts, I could have this automatically or automatically applied or prompt. Hey, do you want to get the article picture? Okay. Now it becomes a template. I'm gonna still fix it. Article picture. Okay. And that's more or less half the screen. It's the same as before. It's the HTML component with the default styling. And more or less the other half is a picture. The entire. You see, even if the image doesn't have the same ratio, have all of the space. And the background is also white. Easy, plain and simple template. So those are the built-in article. It's meant just for reading without images. An article picture that has the picture already. But what if you have 2, 3 or more images? This template will become obsolete. Now it's time to see the item template. So here I have an article template for topics. Okay. So I'm going to make just a selection, what's called a highlight. So it's easier to manage. It's still the same template. And now I'm going to close this as dummy. Just quickly, I'm not going to explain what I did. We'll see this later. Now this is another template. Is why it looks like this. Why do I have a question and an answer if I have no template? This question will be solved very soon, but not now. Then let me apply the item. Yay, it doesn't look exactly the same, right? That's the question, and that's the answer. But look, more or less they have the same size. That won't be true for the image, by the way. The item picture template. And you could say, okay, gotcha. I agree with you that are the same size, the components, but the question has this extra with a lot of references. So you can afford only 2 lines at most. And that 2 lines with this text, with this size of text, font family, and so on. With mine, I can guarantee this will exceed the 2 lines, and I will need to scroll. So basically, that is an item that doesn't have any picture. Everything is default. It does the job. Then you may want to customize it that, hey, I want this to be lower because why I want half the screen for an answer if the answer will be super short, right? That depends on you. But that is how the predefined item template looks in SuperMemo. So it's time to present the predefined item picture template. So we already got this, the article picture. That's a very good example because an image can be embedded in an HTML, which is very different from a dedicated image component. It's a massive difference, but we're not going to cover this now. We have a dedicated section for images. Just to let you know that this is being rendered because it's downloaded from the whatever it's linked in a server. This is from my collection, meaning this is very prone to be gone. Okay. Then this is still an article picture template. Then I will make a close deletion, quite dummy, but this so I can have something to show. That is the default, the built-in, the predefined item picture template. You can already notice some stuff. First, there's still a styling being applied in the close deletion and in the references. Second, the aspect ratio of the image is the same. Do you see? The image is exactly the same size, the same position. And the only difference is that instead of one HTML component here, we have two. One here takes most of the space and the answer. So if I do the repetition, that's the question time, and that is the answer time. So this has three components. Ironically, the image is in the middle. It's not the third. So you already know that this will have some consequences when you do some operations with components. I can do this. So it looks the same, but it's not already the predefined. I did some change already, even if it's just the order. Awesome. So that's the template you can use for all items that include one image. But again, what about if you have two or more? This question will be solved later. So we're going to see now is how to restore the predefined templates. So let's say that, let's see a pronunciation, I don't use it. Gone. Sound, gone. Sound item, gone. Spelling, gone. Task, gone. And now is, okay, I have other templates for topics and items, but not for tasks anymore. Then I keep using SuperMemo for a few months, following the Pleasurable guide to SuperMemo, and now it's time, hey, I want to work with tasks now. But oopsie doopsie, I deleted the templates already. Solution A, redo it yourself from scratch, or if you want to use the predefined, there's one feature you can trigger. Right-click, Tools, and Add Predefined Templates. Boom, and they are back again, because they come from the same place basically, they are built in. Keep in mind that the article, hey, it doesn't look like the default. Why? Because existed. Keep in mind that this doesn't say restore, it say add, meaning that the ones that have been deleted will be re-added, but the ones that have been modified, they will keep being modified. It's a good detail to have in consideration. And remember, this is per collection. In case you have multiple collections and you deleted some of them because you don't want it to have so many in the list, you will need to do the same. Finally, it's time to answer some of the questions relating to templates. There's something called, well, something I call, and some other people in the community, SuperMemo community, called Archetypal Templates. It's a non-official term that doesn't exist in the official documentation. What do I mean by that? If we go to the other collection that we did for templates, you may remember that at some point I said, hey, this looks like this, but it had no template at all, right? So let me do it once again. I make a different close deletion. Why it looks like this? This is a no template So the article is not applying anything. Hey, you should have those two components of this size, of this length, width. Nope. That indeed is an archetypal. If there's nothing that defines how it should look, it will look like this by default. So SuperMemo internally is setting a hard-coded default template. So it will be not template, but it will tell you, hey, if you did a close deletion, this requires two components. The first component will be on the top, and the answer, what you have selected the text to close with, will be at the bottom. And their size won't be 50-50. They will be like this. That, hey, that's an even. And even the width is an even, it's not to the bottom. Compare with this, that they are totally even, and with the image, they are still even. They don't take the full width because of the image, but are even. But the archetypal, it's not. And this very same shape is extremely old. If you use SuperMemo versions from 10 or 15 years ago, you will have flashcards like that. So why this size? I don't know, but usually the answer is smaller. So it makes sense that the answer field is smaller than the question. And it doesn't provide any flashcard, provide any other component, sound, image, and so on, because it's not required, you have the minimum. So this, so far, is the archetypal template for items. What about topics? Remember, if now I add something manually, I add a child, we will see what is this. What is this? This is not template. So I have a very big chunk of the, well, not now because it's empty, but let me cheat 1 second. Okay, I will paste it here. Then the question is, how different is this from the predefined article template? Let's verify that. I will duplicate it so we can see the difference. Article. Let's see. It's exactly the same. So for the items, we have seen that the archetypal is slightly different. The ratio, the length, the size, the width, so everything is different. But it's consistent. It always looked like this. And we have seen that for topics, the archetypal topic template is indeed the article template. Exactly the same. Then you may have the question, why bother applying my article template if it will look the same as the template? Well, if you don't ever change it, that will be the case. But as soon as you modify, which I really suggest to do, as soon as you modify the predefined article template, there will be difference. So let me do it now. I have this color. I will also change the font size and so on. I'm not going to do it here. I also don't want the saccade to be so wide, so I will have it like this. And I will still have some images on the side. But now you see that, hey, it's not the same experience anymore. It is by default, and the only case. And last reminder, with items, it looks different, but it shouldn't be a problem, because if the answer doesn't fit this component, it's too long. And that's not everything, but just to let you know that the missing returns of a task. If I create a task, how it will look. The same as a task template and so on, but this will only be dedicated in the mastery track of the course. Something worth mentioning, especially come from Anki, is that, wait. We have seen the item template, the item picture template, where's the close deletion? Precisely, this is a close deletion More precisely, everything we did was the close deletion. We haven't done question and answer, in fact. And that's the difference in SuperMemo. So you maybe used the Anki experience, the Anki flavor of the close deletion, that the answer would be the same place, but with this. So let me do a duplicate so it's easier to follow. So you will expect this to be the question and this to be the answer, more or less. But SuperMemo doesn't work like that. What it will show you is the close at the answer. Therefore, it's the same as question and answer. Same thing. Because it doesn't have to appear within the same place, within the same area of text than the question. Then if you ask me, this can be achieved? Yes, can be achieved with some obscure features that are by no means meant for this flow. I very strongly suggest against that, even though I will do a video to show you all of the things you have to do to achieve it and why it's not worth it, in case you don't trust my word. But then you'll realize that, hey, this is even better. In my case, I had 11 years of experience with Anki, so I'm used to see the close deletion in the same place. But then you say, wait, then I can mix all of the templates and always look at the same place, regardless if it's a close deletion or not. So at the long term, actually it's better. Even though for extremely, when I mean extremely, is an overwhelmingly titanic bias against that. That for years is, I don't like it. And later on it's more efficient, it's more consistent. Therefore, I don't need different templates for items, and I can have one single template for item, regardless if it's close deletion or not. So remember this. The close deletion template in SuperMemo is different from Anki, and you can have it without template. Remember, you can have the no template element, which uses the archetypal. Not this one, but this one. It will look like this. So the short answer is no. There is no template for closes in SuperMemo. Let's continue with the templates. And I don't know if you noticed that, but if we go to the registry, the built-in templates, you have articles, you have items, you have one for tasks. What about concepts? This is a concept, but what template it has? No template. Okay. Then, pesticides, no template. Okay. What happens now if I do apply my article template? A, differs from the element type, is meant for a topic, and this is a concept. Apply accept template anyway? Yes. Easy. Easy peasy. But hey, why now? For the sake of the example, now I will put this in different color, yellow. I will call this concept, but I'm saving this as a concept already. It's a concept element, right? Okay. So now if I go to aging and I apply the concept, hey, it doesn't complete. Now let me go to any topic like this, has the article, and now let me add the concept. It's the other way around. So the only difference is the element type you have used to save that template. So even though it's the same, at the end of the day, it's just one HTML component, or one HTML component, one image component, and the background color that you can modify and so on, and that's about it. If you save it as a topic, it will be a topic template. If you do it on a task that we haven't mentioned, but it will be the same, it's a task template. It just happened to be that you have one template for tasks in red color, but not for concepts. Why? Because it's very rare you will use concepts with templates. Because when you create concepts, they are already dismissed and with no content, because you use them for the knowledge tree. But if you want to use them as elements to brainstorm about this concept yourself, so therefore you want some text and to be part of the repetitions, then you need a template. So yeah, so let's answer the questions. Is there is no template for topics? Not built in. There is no predefined, but you can easily create one as easy as customize one concept with how you want and save it as a template. Easy. And why it's not encouraged? Because you will need memorized concepts, which are already rare. Just to let you know, well, and what we'll see in the mastery track is that the SuperMemo allows you to create concepts in 8 different ways, and 7 out of those 8, they will be dismissed. Like they never take part of the learning process as elements. And only 1 will. So this already hints you. This already provides you a big hint that in SuperMemo, the concepts are not meant, albeit possible and legal, and it's totally fine, it's not buggy. They can be part of the learning process, but are just meant to be part of the knowledge tree. So now you know. There's a quick trick in SuperMemo that you can see what's called the source. By this, I don't mean the source like this file and view source, that I see the original content. Since it's HTML, like a website, I see all of the HTML code. No. It's the view source of the element, because this will be the view source of an HTML component. Okay. Not that we know this difference. If you right click to get to the menu, the element menu, template, view source, or Shift Ctrl U. Do you see? Now I'll be using the key binding. That is how it looks now, and this is the source. Hey, what's the difference? In this case, it's the background, now it's white, and the size of the component is not exactly the same. Here you have some margin that is completely gone. Well, not completely gone, but it's not the same. Why is this happening? Because in SuperMemo you have templates. In this case, I'm using the Archetypal template. Unlike Anki or other apps, SuperMemo allows elements to exist without templates. Can be templateless. That means that this is how it looks originally, but I'm adding a filter that, hey, no, apply this template. And it looks like this. In this case, the difference is as subtle, but could be quite a lot different, that I have 3 image components, I have a lot of stuff here and there, and so on. It won't be as easy as this, but that is the purpose. That, hey, I want to take a look how the element is without the template applied. Boom, here you go. Then, if the element has no template at all, let's use my this one, my root element. You see it says no template. Then if I press Ctrl+Shift+U, there's nothing. And if I use the menu, template, and see source, it's grayed out. Why I can do this? Why I cannot see the source? Because what you see is already the source. Because there's no template being applied that modifies anything. Therefore, I cannot just switch to the source if it's already the source. Makes sense. When this is useful, in short, when you work with templates. Or oh wow, this looks off. What happened here? Let me see if it's because I applied the template that it was not meant to. Something is off. You want to investigate why. First, let me see how it looks. Then, okay, it's just this topic in particular, or it's a template that is messed up and I need to fix it. Some stuff like this. Or like, oh, it's hard to read. The colors. Let's assume it will be gray over gray. That, oh, the color contrast, it's not that good. Then let me look at the source. Oh yeah. Then perhaps it's because the template, it's linking other style registries or stuff like that we will see. later on in the course. Ctrl-Shift-U for source. Pretty convenient once we get our hands with templates. Let's focus on something very interesting, a tiny detail, but very convenient to avoid in SuperMemo. So while we work on templates, you will be tempted that, okay, I want this template, all of this, and you may click here. Remember that this is the object area of the template registry member, right? But I have the menu. So I can do extracts, I can do links. Imagine this. I just link this image in the registry in the item picture. Having that has no consequence. If now I add a new item and I apply the same template I just modified, the item picture, I'm appending, pre-adding this image registry member already. That's not the way what I wanted, right? So remember, everything you do in the template registry here, that's like the blueprint. It will be propagated to any element that you apply this template. So if you by accident check, I don't know, you can do many stuff. You can also check the display ad on question. Oh, it doesn't happen anything, ha ha ha. That means that from now on, look at that. Now this is the question side or time and the answer. And I didn't modify this item only. I modified all of the items using this template. Now only 3, but imagine I did this one, the article. I could have messed up with 22,000 elements. I may have added a picture to 22,000 elements without knowing, or set a component to the answer field, to the answer time only. Rule of thumb: don't ever trigger the menu when working with templates in the registry. Don't. SuperMemo will treat this as if it's like the element you're working with, but not exactly. I know how it's implemented exactly, but it's very, very prone to issues. If now I delete the component from here, I get some weird error. Sorry, look at that. It was not even the template I thought it was. It's a very good example that you'll mess up big time. Then, hey, I didn't want here, right? I didn't want this particular image. Imagine that you don't know SuperMemo enough, and instead of unlinking the image, delete registry link, you delete the component instead. You get some error, but now what you did is that the image is not gone, but you just have deleted the image component from all of the elements using that template. So now, if I check more, look, the skinnier one, here I had a picture. It's here, but then I had a second now. So you are messing a lot with this stuff. This is one of the examples. At worst, you can add noise to the templates. You add an image in one. You can remove all of the images there are. If you have a secondary text component, you can get rid of it. It's way too dangerous. Then, if you want to edit a template, don't ever touch that here. Go to an element. So click on list. Then in that element, modify it and save the template once again with the same name. So here I will do it. So I go here, I unlink the registry member, and I save it once again with the same name. In this case is item So now I know I didn't mess up any of those. This will save you troubles, and usually you will need to recover from a backup if you mess up. Finally, after spending so much time about templates, we will learn how to apply a template. So I create a brand new element, let's say an item, question and answer. In this case, it's always a flow that in SuperMemo we'll never apply a template for that when you use manually the knowledge tree. So we'll take this chance to manually apply it. How you do that? Ctrl-Shift-M. This opens a registry. And now you select which template you want. You don't have to click the box at all. You can select the one you have. You can select the one you want. Let's say item. Double click. It will be enough. What you can also do is click and accept. The button accept is here. If you don't remember, but I will always suggest to use the enter. It's quicker and fast and more convenient. So remember, to apply a template, doesn't have to be a no template. So usually, if you don't have template, no template, you will add one. But if there's one, it's no, perhaps it's just one and not one because I want the image. Here you go. So it's time to present the style registry. It's one of the styles that is one of the registries that is not here. You have to go to other registries. And here you go, style registry. Then you will have here all of the styles other than the default you're using. In my case, it's dark and light, but can be anything. And here's one example. This is dummy, doesn't contain anything. Look at the preview. It could be for some situation that, hey, I want to color code the headers so I can quickly scan and split by the header. But it looks weird. I don't want to read with that styling. Or you could have styling as I had before from websites like dictionaries and so on. Because when I import this in SuperMemo, it looks like crap. So I rely on the CSS to redistribute this again so it's easier to read. So you have the styling. Basically, it's just a CSS. With SuperMemo, instead of using the SuperMemo CSS, we'll apply this one here. As always, you can see who is using this, the users, and some of the menus. But here there's no much point. Sort by size, okay. Which CSS file is longer, but why do I want to know that, right? And you can always edit the files as well. Why this is useful? Because when I have an HTML component, like here, hey, let me apply something else than the default. So I go to text, style. I can link in a style, like applying a template, then linking will open the registry, and I select the dark. And now I have the dark mode. Therefore, the registry is the same purpose as always all the registries. It's reusing, so I don't need to redefine the styling. For instance, in Anki, it's like a website. In the node type, you specify the styling, and this styling is shared across all of the card types. And the card types will have a front and back template. Here in SuperMemo, though it's not like this. There is no relationship with the styling and template. It's through the registry. Therefore, any component can link any style. I can do any combination and link different ones every time. And then when I save this as a template, SuperMemo will know that, hey, the first one it's linking the dark. The second is using the light, and the third is not linking anything. Therefore, it will be using the default, the SuperMemo.css. This is what you're doing. And that's the beauty of this registry, albeit not oftenly used. You will only be selecting this when you create new templates, basically. And very sparingly, in a no template, that it looks, it doesn't look good or whatever, but anecdotal. And you won't have many members. I think the maximum I got were like 10 or something like that. But it's pretty damn convenient. Because then, when you use incremental reading, I have something about Python. Hey, let me use a concept. This concept will apply how to apply the template. The template will apply configure the components. The component will link to the style registry member, and you have the styling you want directly. And you can mix this regardless of templates. So you could have a template dedicated to Python, another one. So it doesn't have to be that on always strict like in Anki, right? So even if it's very small, it's super powerful. And remember, it is non-essential. That you don't care about this. You just go with the default SuperMemo CSS, and you may customize that, and you neglect this registry. As I did, to be honest. At some point, I didn't use the styling because everything was dark by default. So remember that. Let's continue with templates in the registry. So when you want to apply template, what you can do is you start typing the name you want to filter this out. I don't have many, I have 20, but there are some users who have 200, right? It would be the same experience as deciding a concept. So I will say occlusion, here you go. So I don't need to look for it. And now I press enter twice and that's it. Or YouTube. Here you go. With just the first letter it's enough in my case. The more templates you have, the more likely you need more letters and to use this more often. But this is not filtering, because if I put item, do you see that I have item picture, but link, multiple choice? Nope. They don't match the string. It's because what it does, SuperMemo, is going directly to the first occurrence of what you're typing. That's it. It's not filtering anything. If you really want to filter, instead you click here. Or search, find texts, or Control S. And I do item. And here you go. Those, now I have what's called a registry subset, and I only have 4 candidates, but those have item in the name. This could be the case that, oh yeah, I have one template, but I forgot the name, how I call it. I'm not getting hits by the name. Chemistry, hey, I'm not getting chemistry item or whatever. Then you do this search, so you have fewer candidates. Oh, I did a typo. It was chemistry, not chemistry. It was, the vowel was wrong. I did a typo when saving the template. One of the use cases. Then, this is only useful if you have a lot of templates, which I don't suggest, to be honest. But if you do it, that's the perk you have. Incremental routines. So, the rest of the templates will be covered in the second section of templates, which will be the second last of the course. But now we have still some videos that are relating to templates, even though it's not exactly about the templates. So you know that on this section, my main element looks like this, because I wanted to show the vanilla experience. Okay. Those are HTML components, and those components are linking some what's called style. In case you don't remember, in the other registries, among other ones, we have styles. For instance, I have the dark. So now what will happen if I select this? It's an HTML component, so I can do reading, I can do text style, link style. I link this from the registry. We'll see this later on. And here you go. It's the one I had before, because I have used the dark theme with dark mode for years. Not anymore. But then the question is, hey, why this is not changing? It's because it's not linking to any style. It's not linking to any style registry member. Therefore, the information it gets is the default, the one from SuperMemo. I can actually do that. Text, style, edit file, and here you go. SuperMemo.css. And this is just the defaults. You have Cloze, extract, all of those reserved classes. We are going to see this in detail in the mastery track only. In the Fluency, it's just as a whole. You can customize this with the background color, the color, font family, font style or weight, size. Okay. Then, so you can compare. So this file is actually in the binary folder. In your SuperMemo installation, you go to the binary folder, and you will have SuperMemo CSS. You go to SuperMemo C drive, SuperMemo binary folder, and it's here, SuperMemo CSS. Now I will quit just SuperMemo. This is already advanced. Now I will call it original. So you have a copy, you never know. And then the one I had, I just called it 2. So the name was different. Exactly. So now what's going to happen is that all of the HTML components which don't specify a style registry member will use the defaults. Do you see now it looks as always? Because this file is different. I have the noto sans, the colors are different, and stuff like that. And it's not limited to what SuperMemo does. You can add your own classes as well in the mastery track. So now you understood with this video that the styles is its own thing. It's not part of the template. It is its own registry, the style registry. Hope this is clear. What we're going to see is how you can style components other than the default. Okay, so here I have default, and the dark. I know that because I have done this now, but if it was not the case, I can still know how. If I right-click the component, text, style, and edit file, if it's not supermemo.css, means it's a custom styling, as easy as that. Then, hey, I want to restore this to the default. Easy. Right-click, text, style, default style. No, I don't want to delete it. Okay, easy. So now, if I use my template, okay, then this template is the article template, and this is what is being used. SuperMemo CSS. Awesome. Then something that is really important, and I want to really convey in this video, is that there is no relationship of an element with the styling. The element does not link any styling. The element template that we have here, the article, even if it looks like this is not linking any styling. Why? Because the styling is a relationship of the HTML component. So this element contains an HTML component. And this component, and this component will link, not necessarily, but can link a style registry member. If it doesn't, it will use SuperMemo CSS. So remember that. Elements don't like don't link styling. Templates don't link styling either. HTML components do. Only HTML components do, and that's why I only have this menu here. If it's a plain text, like this, I don't have this option. You see I have fonts, but I don't have the styling. It's a property unique to HTML components. Remember that. And there's now the definitive proof for that, because we have said that there's a registry for styles. I have dark, it's not used anymore, right? Okay. Let's use it once again. Text, style, link style, dark. Okay. So now there's one member. You see? One member. If I click list, what's here? That is why it's easy to be misled. Because then is, hey, this is the list of users, then is this concept that is using this style. No. It's this concept, among other things, have an HTML component which is linking this. But we cannot have just components here. SuperMemo is not designed for that. It can only represent, or at least full-fledged elements, not components. And more internally, in the binary files, you will see that it's linking this. That, hey, this component is linking to this registry member, not the element. That's why, even if you see the element, the link is not through the element. Hope I have repeated this enough so it's clear, because this needs to be crystal clear, because in the second section of templates, if you don't understand this, you're not going to do any good template. You're going to mess things up. But no worries, it's easier than it looks, easier than it sounds, and with this course, even more. But that is all for now. See you incrementally.